Welcome back. Welcome in to the Lion's Share. Screw my opening monologue. We're just going to get right into it. What an emotional day for a Lions fan. Up and down roller coaster day. Let's go right into it to the boys. 4th down and...
Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, we talked about it on Wednesday. The 4th down conversions. We hit the over almost in the first half alone. We had the over-under set at 5. If you listen to Wednesday's episode, we telegraphed this exactly. Andrew disagreed and said Dan doesn't force it, but some would argue that he forced it today early and often. At halftime, I think or even in the second quarter, we had 4 attempts. Go back and listen.
No.
What?
I took the over with you guys.
Tommy, can we get a confirmation on that?
Oh, we may have to make like high school football and check tape here.
I think everybody's gonna have to go back and re-download the last episode and give it another listen.
They should do that. You definitely did say Dan doesn't force it, as I was texting you guys throughout the game. Take the points. Take the points. Take the points.
So all in all, 4 or 5 from the Lions today on 4th down. With the all-seeing eye, with hindsight now, how do you feel about retrospectively? How do you feel about the 4th downs?
I would still say take the points. I mean, it's just such a gamble, and it's great when it works out, but I'm trying to stay on the side of what happens when it doesn't work out, and I don't know. Again, we talked about it. I'm not going to change my opinion. I think when you've got 50 yarders and in, Patterson seems to be pretty consistent there. So I would have liked to see more points, but Dan Campbell's got the biggest nuts in the entire universe. So what do I know?
Undoubtedly. Andrew, do you have any 2 cents on this?
Well, I had shareholders texting me left and right. Dan effing Campbell, love that 4th down call. Nuts a steal. I mean, he's the classic Randy Marsh gif, nuts in the wheelbarrow. He's definitely well on his way to earning himself a statue in front of Ford Field.
Of that exact meme right there, wouldn't that be great? Right next to Barry.
I mean, maybe just that phrase, Mitchell's famous phrase.
Yeah, they put it on a shirt. Why don't they put it on a statue? For me, I said, what did I? Well, I'm just trying to find what I texted you guys because I feel like, I said if you do it all day, why stop now? I don't agree with it necessarily, but he's consistent. On the opening drive or the first time they went for the 3 times in a row in one drive. The third one, I know it's easy to say now, but I would have liked to see a field goal there. I just felt like it was greedy to go for 3. The 2, you were lucky to get 2, and you went to the well one more time. But hey, Dan Campbell, what can we say? We live and die by the 4th down. It worked. They're victorious. Brandon Staley loses another close one in a shootout. So it's pretty much par for the course.
Did you guys hear that stat that said the Chargers have been in 100 games of 10 points or less? Or 101 score games in the last 10 years.
Holy
I
crap.
heard that and I was like, can you imagine going through that as a fan base? At least when we're bad, we're just bad.
In the last 10 years, I mean, if you're averaging like 16 games a year, I mean, like 160, depending a few playoff games in there, so like 170, call it 170. Over half of your games are 1-score games. You're telling me that?
That's crazy.
I have a headache from the game, but I have a headache even more now.
Well, that's what Dan talked about last year too, and what we talked about in the Minnesota Vikings. They're really not that great of a team, but they're somehow finding a way to win these close games, and that's what Dan talked about. As a team, you fight and you fight and you fight and you work on dragging them to the abyss, and it's just finding a way to win those 1-score games.
Yeah, it's like what I texted you guys going into that last drive when it was tie game, said that this could be a defining moment for the season. And I really think it is. I think it was a defining game, defining moment. We've had a few of these now in these new look Lions, these brand new Lions. A lot of games like this where the same old Lions would have lost this game. 100%. That field goal is going wide. They're going to lose it in overtime. They fumble the snap. They turn the ball over. They're not even in the game at the end. All those things. just felt like a different team out there. In a good moment where they had to go down the field, run the ball. First play of the last drive, everybody in the world thinks they're going to run it, run some clock, get the drive going. Nope, they go play action. They swing past the other way. Beautiful. Ben Johnson, what can you say about Ben Johnson? I know I'm trying to formulate all of our thoughts. This game is going to be all over the place. Let me hone it in here for a minute. So go back and listen to Wednesday's episode. 8 minutes and 56 seconds. Tommy will have it linked in the description. We telegraphed this game perfectly. The fourth downs, Brandon Staley, Dan Campbell, everything. We telegraphed all of it. More people should listen to us. I don't know why they don't. So speaking of emotions, craziness, Mitch and I both wear Apple Watches. Andrew, he's a non-smart watcher as far as I'm aware. So we both got heart rate monitors on 24/7.
Does Andrew have a smartphone?
Unconfirmed.
It's not necessary.
He's rolling with a jitterbug.
That was too far. You're right. I'm sorry. That was mean. I'm sorry.
No, you go at me way harder, so I disagree. But what was the heart rate for you, Mitch?
I got up to 97, and I wanted to take a picture and send it to you guys, but then the field goal went in, and things got away from me pretty quick. But I was definitely stressed. What were you at?
So I thought it was higher. I felt like in my head it felt higher, but it was only 94.
Yeah,
and only for
sense.
a brief period. As that field goal was going in, I don't really know. I think it was earlier in the game, actually. I think it was the PI in the end zone that the Lions got called for. Cam Sutton's PI. I think that's when it was.
Soft. Charmin, soft.
And also have the decibel readings, so it's constantly monitoring my environment. When I screamed at the PI that occurred in the end zone, I got up to 107 decibels.
I may have gotten a scolding for how loud I got on that as well.
My slider was open, so the whole complex heard.
Let them know, baby. Texas ain't
But
safe.
here's the thing. I have a good relationship with the neighbor right next door. Share a wall with her. I know that she hears me, the game day craziness. So I've ahead of the season, I gave her a well notice that this may happen on Sundays and that there's nothing to worry about. So she's aware. No issues here. Andrew, did you have any issues?
No issues. I don't think I screamed at that PI. I was just more disappointed than anything, as some would say.
It was just.
I would also like to point out for the listeners and freshly minted viewers, Andrew's camera is frozen, so he's potentially going to get away with mute monster murder in this episode.
Let them know, fans or shareholders. Let them know in the comment section.
This is misinformation. Sick of the spreading. I have not been caught on the mute monster in the last 24 hours.
Some would say you may be sabotaging the webcam right now. This may have been all part of your plan, sir. All right.
May never know.
Let's stay grounded here. Let's talk about what this episode's going to be, and it's probably going to change, and we're going to have several audibles along the way. But Lions go into LA, emerge victorious. They're 7-2 going into Week 11. That's a great place to be. It feels good. Sitting atop the NFC, right up there with the Eagles. The Seahawks get a win today as well, so they're keeping pace. With they have 3 losses, so Lions do sit above them, but they do have the tiebreaker over the Lions. Of course, the Seahawks win earlier this season. This game as a whole, Lions versus Chargers. If you like defense, this was not the game for you. It was a track meet, a basketball score, whatever moniker you want to give it. It was first 1-40, and the Lions end up with a victory 41-38 over the Chargers. And it was one of those games where last team with the ball was going to win. It felt that way all day long, and we thought that this could happen, albeit we didn't have the scores quite as high as we ended up here with 41-38. But I digress. Both teams over 400 yards of offense. Lions were 4 of 13 on third down, and we'll talk about that. Mentioned that they were 4 of 5 on fourth downs, though. And that was the difference maker today. Brandon Staley goes for it on fourth down just as much as Dan, and both these teams were on brand today with the fourth down. So, yeah. And what can we say about the fans? traveling out there in LA. It's obviously hard to see in the crowd with the powder blues and the Honolulu blues being so similar. Hard to say which, blue was being represented, but there were times where the third downs and the "Let's Go Lions" chants, I know you heard it, Andrew. It was very strong, and quite a few fans of Loney's out there in the crowd.
I'm so glad you brought up the Fanzalonis. The Lady Lion showed me some pictures. Didn't realize the Fanzalonis were in such full force. Didn't realize it was such a following. I'm glad he's got it. I will say he's got to tighten down on the pass coverage across the middle.
Word. And I can't take credit for the Fanzaloni thing. That's not my words. That was the official Twitter account, X account of the Detroit Lions using that name. So, I love that, though. That's right up my wheelhouse. That's exactly what I would want them to be called. The Fanzalonis, for those who don't know, the uninitiated. Alex Anzalone obviously has the long hair, the lion mane, some would call it. Fans showing up in the wigs. We saw them on Halloween, and here they are out in LA. So I give the crowd so much credit because they caused a false start down the stretch. They were loud. Obviously, we know LA is a bad sports town, but the Lions were strong. The Honolulu Blue, the Kool-Aid was strong today. And it's just so much better to record this episode. I know you guys share in this emotion, but it's just so much better to record this with the Lions victory because it's not fun to record, especially with a 4:05 game where we have to jump right on the mics afterwards.
It definitely makes work on Monday morning a little easier. And Anzalone is entering like the Maglio Ordonez and Big Ben kind of platform.
Great name drops. Could not agree more. Kind of becoming a legend in Detroit sports right now.
Yeah, we said we had the Rasheed Wallace with DJ as well. He was tweeting a lot during the game. I like to see that. He's obviously fully ingrained in these games, and I think he's going to be back on the sidelines soon. I don't know when, but hopefully back in uniform at some point this season. All right, let's see. What do we want to talk about here? The Lions. Let's go box score. The Lions obviously won the turnover battle. Had the early interception by Kirby Joseph with the fancy footwork to keep him in bounds there. Alex Anzalone, shout out to him as well for pressuring Herbert on that one. Speaking of pressures, the Lions did not record a single sack all day. Got very, very close there in the third quarter, I think it was, third or early fourth quarter. A couple guys had shots at Herbert and just could not get him down. That was on a third down too, so that was a killer point in that game. I mentioned that both teams over 400 yards of offense. Lions with 533 yards of offense, just an explosion. The rushing attack was strong right off the bat, 200 yards even and 330 yards through the air. Is that what you're going to add?
Lions, 325 net yards of offense through the first 9 games, first time in franchise history. The offense is humming, and it starts in the trenches. The boys are playing really good offensive line football right now.
I'm watching on the box score. I'm watching that throw to Brock Wright over the middle. Such a huge point in that game. I know we talked about it via the text message, but boy, that felt like slow motion. That ball was up there for so long, and I just was praying that Goff didn't overthrow him. Praying.
It definitely was up there for a long time, but when that hit Wright's hands, I was like, he could not have placed that ball any better for him. And I think it was scarier because of the way Brock went to catch it. I think if he would have, that was in the breadbasket. That was the perfect ball.
And interestingly enough, they go to Brock right there, not Laporte.
Yeah, I think it's just the same reason that Brock Wright got that 4th down touchdown last year. It's just, you don't expect it. Everyone sold the run. I think Montgomery faked that trip, to be honest, just to be to suck him in even more. Yeah, it just a lot of good calls. Both offensive coordinators. I hate to give Kellen Moore a shout out, but both offensive coordinators had a great day.
Today was a prime example in offenses where you don't back down to your original scheme when you come into the game and you just run it, even though, it's not going to hit all the time. You're going to run into some rough patches. Both offenses did in this game. but they both stuck to it, and that's kind of what that Brock Wright touchdown showed at the end. That was the same scheme they ran all day long with those motions to the right. And it was just kind of a moment where it's like, hey, are you paying attention? He didn't really throw a hard block this time, and just streaked down the center of the field, and that was the difference.
And to be honest, Ben, I think that opened up the huge fourth down, the game sealing fourth down at the end of the game for Laporta. And do you guys listen to Greenlight Pod? Chris Long and
Chris
his
Long.
brother. Yeah,
not regularly.
Do you mind if I put a clip in right here?
Are you gonna insert a clip?
This is Laporta. They had Laporta on the clip, on the pod earlier this week. This is Laporta earlier this week.
To think of myself as that security blanket for him. I always feel like I'm going to be on my spot with steady hands, and I think he can trust me.
I mean,
exactly. Point proven.
Literally called his shot, and that's exactly what happened at the end of the game. Just incredible.
And I was eating dinner in the late third quarter, early fourth quarter, whenever that drive was, because Laporta got a catch real early. I think he was the first play of the game he got a catch, right? And then we didn't hear from him for what seemed like the rest of the game until a couple catches down the stretch there. And I was literally going to text you guys because I think it was a run play or something. Some play went to Laporta's side, and I saw Laporta, and I just thought to my head, I'm like, when's the last time I was about to text you guys and say, where's Laporta and why is he not involved? And then next play, they go to him in a pass, and then they eventually go to him on that fourth down, which was huge. Get another fourth down where the Lions convert, and was in a tricky spot there. I can't recall what yard line they were on, but that was going to be a 50-plus yarder, right? Field goal? If not longer?
Yeah, it was. And Ben, I think Nance had that same
yes, he
thought
said
you
it.
did
Yes, he
as
did.
well.
Yeah, right after I had the thought.
He did
Nance
his best
said it.
Tony Romo.
Yes. God.
Hey, he did that a couple times on the night with a couple different guys. I forget when else, but I know he had done it one other time, and just thought, man, like Nance is on his game tonight.
Was he though? He had a couple where he called a couple first downs that weren't first downs, a couple touchdowns that weren't touchdowns. Nance is kind of showing his age.
I wasn't a huge fan of Nance or Romo today, to be honest with you guys.
I
thought Romo was fangirling over the Chargers, and yeah, I wasn't. Usually I like those two, but not the biggest fan.
And people that know me, I'm a big Romo fan. I like what he's doing, what he's done in the booth. I like how he's different than other people. I know he can be divisive, but anyway, all that said, I didn't like him today. It just felt weird. It was at times when we were watching this game, it felt like our Jim and Tony watching the same game as us because they were outlandish things. Like Mitch, you called it out, the intentional grounding, the dual penalty there late down the stretch that was an intentional grounding on Herbert, but also a roughing the passer on Okwara.
I didn't know what Romo was looking at. Still clearly inside the tackles, no one even close. And Romo's defense was, well, you never know. That's an option route. Well, that doesn't apply in the NFL because then you could just say that about every single intentional. Well, that was an option route. The running back was supposed to be there. What are we talking about, Romo? Tony, you're better than that.
I'm so glad you guys brought this play up because I was screaming at the TV, screaming intentional grounding. And I thought they weren't going to call it. I thought that I was crazy. I didn't know what intentional grounding was. If Goff takes an intentional grounding for throwing at the foot of a receiver, and that's not intentional grounding, I truly don't know what it is.
Yeah, it was nowhere near. It was just weird. And when we first saw the replay, I thought Okwara only hit him on the shoulder, and like the reverb or the whatever you want to call it made his helmet move. And then I saw that he did make contact with the helmet. I still don't like the call. A lot of calls today that were controversial in a high scoring affair, but we don't need to go into all that. But yeah, Andrew, want to kick it to you here again because I think you've got it. I think this is you in the notes. One of your keys always being get a stop early and score early. So you've got in here, got a stop on their opening drive and took points on their opening drive.
Yeah, you would wish they would take that touchdown, but the field goal will do. I don't believe I'm wrong in saying the defense did get a stop in their opening drive, right?
Yeah,
I was a little late to the party.
It was a 3-and-out, or it was close to a 3-and-out.
They had It was a 3-and-out. They had an incredible start to the game that got kind of held up by what I also thought was a suspect call on Decker to do the chop block. The guy wasn't engaged, and he didn't really. I don't think he initiated contact below the knees. So the start of the game was great. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I really wanted that
What's crazy,
touchdown for JMO too.
I totally agreed. And what's crazy is that's not the first time. I don't know if it was Decker specifically, but the line themselves have been called for that same penalty. So you know that's a blocking scheme they work on.
Yeah, it's something they do often, and I agree. It was controversial. I don't think you need to throw the flag there. It's inside the tackle box is the argument I guess you make there. So even though he wasn't engaged, but it wasn't below the knees. It was up high. It was midsection. So it was bizarre. Takes points off the board, but that was kind of the story of the day. The Lions fight through that adversity and end up victorious either way. Obviously, the PI called down the stretch and a couple others. Fought through the adversity to get the win. Detroit versus everybody. It kind of felt like that kind of game. And it's tough when they're in these late windows because you've got more eyes on these games, and it feels like those are the games where these penalties and these weird instances happen if you're a Lions fan. So they're kind of cursed in that department. Back to the stats, back to the box score. Lions had 8.3 yards per play on offense, which is towards the top there for them this season, I'm sure. Struggled to get in the red zone. Obviously, those fourth downs, 2 of 4 in the red zone. Still gotta clean that up. And the big one for me on defense and on offense, it's just got to be better on third down. If we want to start talking about some negatives, Keenan Allen had a day today. If I'm looking at the box score correctly, obviously he left for a little bit, but he's back. And then he ended the day with 175 yards receiving and could just not be stopped on third downs or any down really for that matter. So you guys have any feelings towards the third downs when it comes to the defense? What do they got to do on defense to stop some of these third downs?
They can't send everybody. They do that a lot where they'll send 4 or 5 guys, right? And then the linebackers are expected to do a lot. They need to do a lot more stunts at the line. You don't see it too often, only when Glenn wants to dial up a lot of pressure. Do you see a lot of movement on the line? But it seemed like today it was pretty stagnant and a lot of one-on-ones where it was just beat your guy. And Aiden does what Aiden does best, and he gets pressures on the quarterback, but we just can't seem to finish it and get sacks.
I totally agree with what Andrew just said. They got to get home. You have to get home every once in a while. It's not enough to just have Aiden lead the league in pressures. Got to have someone getting home if that's going to happen. Second, just don't play Keenan Allen again. And for the rest of the teams, don't let teams just run 8-yard slants across the middle all day long. Just all day long that was there. That was crazy. And I know you're going to scheme up different teams differently, and Keenan Allen is a lot better than a lot of receivers in the NFL, but good Lord. It was literally there all day. Nothing crazy, just an inside slant over and over again. So, yeah, cover the middle of the field, get home now. Sacks is the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, another day without a sack.
What worries me the most is that this is tape, and this is like the film on how to beat it, right? The defense has looked solid the last few weeks, and that was just a major chink in the armor. What worries me is that now there's film on it, and how do you scheme that open middle of the field?
Well, and we saw it against Adam Thielen as well. It's just guys with the last names ending in EN, the Lions can't cover. Yeah, Allen ends in EN, Thielen ends in EN. Anyway.
Did you want a reaction from us for that?
I would love to have more reactions from the board here. But you know what?
And
when you put yourself out there, you open yourself up for either greatness or failure. And you're never going to have 100% of both. And so that's just life. A little life lesson there for the shareholders.
That's life.
Yeah, but to your point, Andrew, it is film. It is tape that other teams can use to go against the Lions. And this is going to be the thing that the that's going to hinder them down the stretch and into the playoffs. If they do make the playoffs, nothing's guaranteed. This is what people are going to what offensive coordinators and coaches are going to take advantage of and exploit. And that's going to be the bugaboo that loses the Lions games down the stretch. And, we know they need more help on defense. We do. Whether it's pass rusher. Hopefully, James Houston comes back and he's in form of last year, and then we can get some pressure from another side there and alleviate some of these passes that are just dink and dunk down the field. That's my hope, is that James Houston's back in the next month, and then down the stretch we can have a Band-Aid for this, and then address the secondary when we get an opportunity, right? Okay.
Love that you're bringing James Houston back up.
We need him, man. We need something. We need a menace. Kaminsky and folks out there, and Broderick Martin not in this game. They keep doing like the Onwuzurike, I don't think played as well. They keep doing like the plug and play every other week, depending on who they're playing. Like it's either Benito Jones or they mix and match these guys quite a bit.
You know who I didn't see a ton of was Brian Branch tonight.
I'm so glad you brought that up. The alien with the mouth guard. Yes. I don't know what we can chalk that up to, but yeah, just not seeing what we saw out of him out of the first 5 weeks of the season before his injury.
He had a couple of good plays. I thought a couple of good tackles, but I don't know if it's just depending on the scheme that they're playing or what's going on. He's definitely not seeing the field as much, which is pretty interesting. It could also just be as much fun as we make of Jerry Jacobs. He's having a great year, and I think that's in the beginning of the season where Branch was expected to play the most. So, it's probably better for a rookie to kind of get in those slot corner situations and build up the game confidence. And, we'll see a lot more of him down the road, I'm sure. But that's a great call out. Good job, Andrew.
Thanks.
And Riley Patterson, got to give a little shout out to him as well. Cold all game, obviously. Comes in at the last minute, kicks a field goal. Thought that was interesting that they didn't get the ball centered and they had him on the left hash. Maybe that's his preferred hash, but thought we'd see it kicked out right down the middle. We did see a kick right down the middle. Did you guys have faith in Riley there? I think it was a 41-yarder.
I have faith in Riley. I think that's his sweet spot. I mean, to be honest, he's really only missed the one chip shot this year where I'm like, oh, that's one you got to make. Other than that, he's been very consistent this year. Whenever it's 45 and in, I don't feel nervous that Riley's going out there.
The only nerves I had was somebody jump in the center and getting the block. Other than that, I knew he was going to make it. The only thing that could stop it was jumping over the center for a block.
You almost have to train long snappers in the NFL now to snap it and then just instantly go as high up as you can to try and get that contact.
Mitchell, great point. That was the other thought I had right before the kick too, was that it's the new long snapper.
That actually did make me nervous. I saw him go out there and I kind of was like, oh, I don't love that. Especially because not a ton of punts today, so just not a ton of field time. So that's all right. It all worked out. We're all good.
Hey, he's in his old stadium. He used to play for the Rams, so he's right at home. He's feeling nice and comfortable there. McQuaid, that is Jake McQuaid. But yeah, I thought about it when the punts had the one sole punt that they had. I thought, oh, here we go. Just make sure we got a good unit here with the long snapper. But I didn't even cross my mind when Riley Patterson's trotting on the field. Oh yeah, there's a new long snapper for the field goal unit as well. I mean, that he does that too. So that, to your point, yeah, that was what made me nervous as well. I was feeling pretty good. I was already typing things in the notes like it was a Lions victory, getting a little bit ahead of myself, but I felt pretty good about it. All right, let's lay down the halftime capsules here, Tommy, and then outside of the break here, but coming off the halftime capsules, we'll give our band players of the week, and then we'll finish off with getting you up to speed in week 10 in the NFL and college football with our college football expert.
Halftime capsule, a lot of LA 24-17 for the boys in the all white, icy, crispy uniforms. Really happy with the offense. I mean, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, just establishing the run game and dominance up front in the trenches. I think that's going to set up some open up the playbook calling from Ben Johnson in the second half. Really, it's on the defense. I mean, offense is clicking over 300 yards. Stop Keenan Allen. This is a different ball game. They've, for the most part, contained Eckler, especially on the run game. I think the Chargers as a unit have less than 40 yards on the ground in the first half. Eckler has about 40-some yards of receiving. Keenan Allen's over 100. You contain Keenan Allen. You keep doing what you're doing in the trenches on offense, and you're going to come out of LA with a win. Go Lions.
We had a feeling that we were going to have a lot of fourth downs in this game, and here we are. That's the story of the first half. Both teams going for it. Lions going for it 4 times. The Chargers going for it once there at the end to get the score before the half. Feels like the Lions should be winning this by a lot more. Only up 7 at the half, and didn't take some points there, but I think you live and die by that. I think you got to score touchdowns in this game, so I'm kind of okay with it. Just didn't like the fact that they went for 3 in a row in one drive. Felt like you were lucky to get 2, and a third one was getting greedy. So regardless, Lions offense is looking good. Looking strong. Offensive explosion, 177 yards or so on the rushing attack already between Gibbs and Montgomery. Just monster days from both of them. Offensive line, offensive play calling, scheming, all that good. Defensively, Chargers are getting into a groove. I don't like that. The Chargers were a little slow off the start and then got 2 touchdowns there to get to 17. So got to get to him. No sacks yet today on Herbie. Got to make him uncomfortable per usual. It's just a little too uncomfortable, or just a little too comfortable for him out there right now. But the defense doing okay, doing enough to win the game. Offense is going to come out of the second half with the ball, so points out of the half. And we're going to be talking about a Lions victory here, albeit a high-scoring one. Could be a shootout. Stay tuned. Go Lions. Also, I forgot, third downs have not been good. 0 for 5 on third down. Got to clean up the third down play on offense.
Okay, shareholders, here we are. Going into the second half. Little worrisome that Keenan Allen's kind of getting fired up here. Caught a couple passes to end the half. Little disappointing that they were able to put points on the board there before the half. Gave the Lions just over 20 seconds, I believe, to try and come back. Couldn't do nothing. The David Montgomery, though, how about that? That's something you don't normally see from the officials and the Lions. David Montgomery stayed in bounds. I'll take it. Jamison Williams, don't let the media talk to you like that. Love that block downfield. You can do things even without the ball in your hands. That was very impressive. Love to see that you're fired up about it. They're starting to target the middle linebackers. Tony Romo called it out. Actually, great call by him. I was thinking it a couple plays before it. But they are starting to pick on Herbert, that is, pass-wise, pick on the middle linebackers. We need to figure all that out, lock that down, and otherwise finish this game. I thought we were going to take a quick lead on them, and it was going to be them clawing back. We tried to do it, couldn't punch it in early. I think that would have absolutely killed this team. But we've been explosive. We just need to finish this game. Let's go Lions.
All right, so you get to hear our emotions there at halftime live. Andrew, it sounded like was on the way to the store. Some questioning his football dedication to this said podcast when he's, out and about on the town during halftimes and perhaps missing some game action. So hopefully you had Dan Miller and Lomas Brown on the radio, though.
And that's why you have the NFL Plus subscription. And part of the reason you got to leave every so often just to hear the radio broadcast. Heard some more of it from some other teams earlier today, too. And it is just refreshing, mainly from the Germany game. But it's just refreshing to hear the home and away broadcast.
All right, going into the band players, what can you guys say about the tandem duo of Montgomery and Gibbs today? Obviously mentioned that the Lions had 200 yards even on the ground today. Gibbs with 77 of those and Montgomery with 116 of those. No Craig Reynolds showing today, just those two. And then St. Brown had a couple runs in there for 9 yards. But how about that long scamper from Montgomery, 75 yards? And how about Montgomery and Gibbs as a whole today? And shout out to JMO for the block as well.
I know a lot of that run by Montgomery was probably the best thing for the rest of the Lions season, given that everyone stays healthy, because everyone's definitely looking at Montgomery and Gibbs as like, all right, Gibbs is in as the speed back. Not so fast. Montgomery turned on the absolute jets to bust that open. It was incredible. And I mean, again, you can't say enough about those two. They're setting the tone, and it starts with the offensive line, but it is the running game is clicking right now.
Mitchell, that's such a good point too, and that was the question mark last or a couple weeks without Monty, and Gibbs had to be the every down back between the tackles, and that was what your thoughts were coming out was, okay, maybe he's not just a speed back and he's an every down back, and it is starting to become a scary 1-2 duo, and the whole injury bug, that's the worry.
Yeah, mentioned that injuries fairly clean today. Jerry Jacobs got a little stinger in the game, but I think he was all right, and everybody else, knock on wood, seemed to be okay. But we'll see what transpires from that, and we'll update everybody on Wednesday. This episode about any injuries as it goes for the Lions. So let's talk about banned players real quick, and then we'll close out this chapter and hit Week 10 in the NFL. Mine goes to St. Brown. Could give it to Gibbs, could give it to Monty, could give it to Ben Johnson, but I'm going to give it to St. Brown.
Yeah, Ben, I'm with you. I think to me, it's just St. Brown gets overlooked. It could almost be St. Brown every single week. He's there. He's there when they need him most. He's just so reliable. He had a couple of really tough catches today that I think people just overlook because it's him. I did sneak in there. I played right into your hands. The crowd. I mean, the Lions fans are just unreal this season, but that's a whole total season note. For me, it's St. Brown.
Yeah, St. Brown is a hard guy to pass up on these, but he did it to himself by being too good, honestly, and he's just expected to have it now, so he's really got to do something impressive to earn it. Mine has definitely got to go to Dan Campbell's jockstrap or pants, or I don't know if he was wearing underwear in this one, but my God, to hold it all in, it takes some stretchable fabric, to say the least.
And to my point about St. Brown, I just wanted to give it to Gibbs and Montgomery in the first half, but down the stretch, they were just really relying on St. Brown and in the running game and in the passing game. And as Mitch alluded to, the low catch down the stretch, it was just flowing through St. Brown.
That catch down the stretch, that may have been a centimeter off the turf. That was insane. And then housed it. That was just, he's special. He is special. He's going to go down as one of the all-time draft picks in Lions history, and he's one that I really hope that we are looking at him as kind of like a TJ Lockett, but with a higher upside. Because the TJ Lockett's just always there for the Seahawks. You always have to scheme him up and be ready for him. I hope that that's what we're talking about for St. Brown 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now. It's awesome to see.
Love that comparison that you just threw out there. And speaking of centimeters, thank goodness David Montgomery's feet aren't a centimeter wider, because that could have very well changed the game. The Lions struggle in the red zone. I was worried they might not score there if they call him out of bounds.
I'm so glad they called that a touchdown, because my first reaction was they called it a touchdown. There's not enough to overturn it there. I think it was the right call. I think he was in no matter what.
Agreed.
Man, that's crazy. I thought he might have been out there. I was very worried, and I as one goes, very worried about those calls. Thought it was definitely coming back. So glad to see that stand.
Yes, word, brother, word. All right, let's move a little fast here. Let's go into Week 10. Let's trudge through these this long-winded episode. Got a new lead dog in the records recap predictions. Ben.
Oh my God.
For the
oh my God.
For the viewers on the video broadcast, if Tommy's doing this correctly, you'll see what Mitch is reacting to. Ben is sitting at 10-2 right now as it stands with 2 games remaining in Week 10. Andrew 10-2 as well.
Where did you get that? Did you just go mug a kid who just got Burger King? What happened?
This was from my Halloween costume last year. Thanks for asking. I did not just go and buy it for this occasion. I just remembered that it was under my bed and I put it on. So here we go. And that's the new celebration.
Why
that
is it under your
everybody's
bed?
Moving right along. Mitch, you were at 6-6 this week. Barely at 500, I might add. It's under my bed because I have a small apartment and I don't have a lot of storage. That's why. So as it stands right now through the games, I'm sitting at 98 and 50, only 2 games away. I could potentially get to 100 here. Feeling pretty good about it. Andrew 84 and 64, Mitch 96 and 52. So it's about to get contentious down the stretch there. I'm excited, and we'll update the dude from the Sporting News soon. So
I'm due any week to just zig when you guys zag and just make a massive comeback.
You had a good week. What do you mean?
Yeah,
10?
you did.
You had a great week.
I just need Ben to not keep stride.
He's got a crown on. He literally crowned himself. He might not win 2 games next week.
No, it's when I'm hot, baby. Don't let me get hot. Don't let me get hot because that's only going to get hotter in the kitchen, baby. Let's go to the Panthers at the Bears.
Digging himself a hole.
Panthers and the Bears. This was ugly. I don't know if you guys noticed here in the notes, but Tommy has denoted games for longer discussion. This is one that we don't need to talk about. Who cares? Panthers, Bears. Bears are going to have a better draft pick because they won this game. I don't have anything else to add.
Bryce Young still having a tough go.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to have it figured
not
out.
Good.
I'm starting to worry about Bryce. I think he might fall into the bust category.
Honestly, I'm more worried about Frank Reich after this one. I don't know if you guys saw an article about fans wanting to march on the stadium.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm with Andrew on this. I think this is more of a Frank Reich. It's hard to blame a rookie quarterback. You say the same thing. Let's rewind. People were saying the same thing about Trevor Lawrence when Urban Meyer was there. I think we got to look at the head coach.
Yeah, it's a good point that you bring up. I don't know if Bryce is going to get to the Trevor Lawrence level. Colts, Patriots in Germany. This was a retractable roof. It was pretty cool. I sent you the video, Andrew. It was pretty nuts. It like folds into the jumbotron, or like the vice versa, reverse it. The jumbotron comes out of the roof. It's kind of bizarre.
I wish
cool.
this was a retractable game.
Yeah, I wish we could keep them in Germany. I wish we could keep the Patriots in Germany. Right? That's what people are saying. This was ugly. Bailey Zappi had to come in for Mac Jones, and Bailey Zappi goes with the fake spike, which was awesome. I love the fake spike. And then he throws it in the triple or potentially even quad coverage and ends the game with an INT.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, the best part of this game was the post game.
Oh. What happened?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw any of the interviews. It was just very funny to see Mac all pouty. Bailey Zappi, like he had no idea what was happening. Like, yep. I thought this was the U.S. kind of look on Bailey Zappi. And then Bill Belichick just fed up with all of it. Like, God, I just want new players.
Yeah, see, I just think, like, Mac Jones is done. Like, I don't know if he might start the rest of the season. I don't even know if that's going to happen. He's not the starting quarterback next year.
Yeah, he might be looking for work. It's that bad right now for the Patriots. 2-8, I believe now, as it sits. Browns at the Ravens. This was a huge one. Huge implications. That's one in the AFC North. Browns come all the way back, man. The Browns just hung around, and that defense is really strong. I know they gave up 30-something points today, but that defense is just incredible. They had a lot of big sacks down the stretch, and an INT, a pick six that they missed an extra point on, but they just still hung around. Did enough to get the victory here over the Browns, and over the Ravens. This was a huge win for the Browns.
I'm sorry. Are you guys watching Sunday Night Football? I'm going to pull an absolute move here. Aiden O'Connell looks like he should be a kicker.
I'm sure he could be.
I don't have it.
I'll try to get a picture for you guys. It's pretty brutal. But good on you guys. Good on you guys for picking the Browns. I thought the Ravens were going to do what the Ravens do and play really well, and this was almost like this was a Chargers-Lions game. Browns were the Lions today. Ravens were the Chargers.
Yeah, I want to say there was 4 or 5 games today that ended on a walk-off field goal, so a very tight day of football. And honestly, if you would have asked me at I don't know, what time did this game kick off? 1 o'clock? Yeah. I would say if you asked me at 3 o'clock who won this game, I'd tell you the Ravens. Throughout this entire game, I just assumed that the Ravens were going to win it the entire time. Counted this as a loss for me and Ben. And somehow the Browns just eke it out.
It was insane. And to your point about that, there were several games, not just this one, where it felt like they were. It didn't seem like a lot of these were going to come down to the stretch, and then all of a sudden, all these games are going down to the last second field goals. And I'm scrambling to try to bounce between red zone and the Lions starting at 4:05. I'm sure you had the same issue.
Yeah, it was very weird today. The witching hour took full effect. I forget what the star chart said. Let me take another look. Oh, that's right. Saturn went direct after a 6-month retrograde, guys. That was heavy feelings of responsibility and clear-mindedness. Lot of offenses didn't slow down. That's pretty much what it came down to.
That's what it's all about. That's what it was. We should have known going into this week, and that's why we have you here with the star readings every Wednesday, folks. Texans, Bengals, another wild one. Texans just so scrappy. The Bengals made so many mistakes today, and that's the reason they lose today. And I'm so pissed at myself because I was going to go perfect through the early games. If I would have stuck with the Texans, I had the Texans written down last Monday, and then on Wednesday I came around and I looked at the Bengals schedule and I overthought it, and I took the Bengals and I should have stuck with the Texans. I'm an idiot. That's all I have to say.
I don't think you're an idiot. I think Tyler Boyd dropped the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah. But regardless, they did. There were so many mistakes that the Bengals made today, and they still were in this game. But they lose because they just couldn't clean it up down the stretch.
Fair.
All right,
Fair.
Andrew
I
has
think
no
these are
thoughts on
both good teams.
Absolutely, both good teams, and both having a tough schedule down the stretch, especially the Bengals. As they sit now at 5-4. Both these teams at 5-4. Bengals at 5-4 is going to be tough in that AFC North. Aiden O'Connell, a live update. Yeah, I mean, his neck's pretty thick for a kicker.
You telling me that's not a kicker?
His neck doesn't look like a kicker's neck.
Yeah. He showed up to the combine and he's like, "No, I'm just going to throw a few. Just see what happens." And here he is. Good for him.
I'd probably take Aiden O'Connell over Danny DeVito. I'll say that. But we'll talk about that game. Andrew, we'll kick it to you here for your 49ers at the Jaguars. You said the Jags were not a good team because they weren't going to win off the bye. Bad on me and Tommy for not including that the 49ers were also off a bye here. So 2 teams off a bye. So the 49ers get the dub here. They look dominant all day. Look like that defense is back in form. They've got Chase Young back out there now on the defense. They win at 34-3. The Jaguars couldn't even get a touchdown today. It was ugly. And Andrew, I got to throw it back real quick. When Trent Williams got hurt way back a couple weeks ago, you said, "Here comes the 49ers' demise." And then they lose 3 straight. And we never gave you enough credit for that, I don't think.
Yeah, did he make it back today, by the
Yes.
way? I know he was kind of questionable coming into this one.
Yes, he was back.
Okay. So yeah, that's what it is. You want to say it's all the weapons that they have and good on Brock Purdy and everything, but we see it with the Lions themselves too. You have to keep investing in your offensive line. It is the absolute engine of every offense. And you see when one of the best offensive linemen in the game goes out, the offense struggles because of it. I mean, today we didn't even see Christian McCaffrey find the end zone.
They tried really hard.
Andrew, follow-up question. When 2 teams are both coming off the bye, is there an exception to the rule?
No, I don't think so. I think you got to win these games coming out of a bye. You each equally have the same amount of time to get healthy, to watch film, and to learn a system, and you have the most time other than the first game of the year or playoffs to study and actually study a team and learn their tendencies. I mean, this should be the most educated your team should come into a game. It's imperative to win.
Imperative.
Fair point. That's speaking wisdom from Papa B.
Saints, Vikings. I'm officially scared of Dobbs. I am officially scared of Joshua Dobbs. I'll say it. The Vikings now have 6 wins. I don't know. I think it was against a lowly Saints team, so I think you put an asterisk next to this. It's a grain of salt type of game, but it looks like he's got some magic up his sleeve. I think he's got a couple games where the Vikings are going to get wins because of Josh Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs showed up to Minnesota just in time for the holidays too. He might become our new boogeyman. But Minnesota, you're definitely going to see him turn into a couple elf on the shelf toys, and he's going to make his way into several households.
I think Josh Dobbs is a good quarterback. I think the magic runs out though. I still don't think Josh Dobbs is a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins. Maybe he's definitely more mobile, but they're a good team. I think they're more solid than I want to give them credit for. Perhaps maybe that's just a bias coming out, but the magic will run out eventually.
I think so too. I think it'll be next season though. I'm worried about the then and now because this is when it happens. They don't have enough tape on them.
Chief.
I'm just worried. That's all I'm going to say. Packers at the Steelers. I don't know about this one. This one got chippy at the very end.
Talk about this.
Steelers win.
Just kind of a gross game,
Yeah, and back and forth type of battle, close game, classic Steelers game. They get it done though at home. Titans at Buccaneers. I can also say about the same for this one.
Sorry. Excuse me. Can we go back to the Packers and Steelers for a second?
God.
Where did they get it done at? I'm sorry.
At home. Acrisure? Am I supposed to throw out the Acrisure? I'm sorry. Acrisure Stadium?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep, moving on.
Formerly known as Heinz Field. All right, Andrew, why don't you take us away with Titans
Everybody
Bucks
calls
since
it
you
Heinz
interrupted?
Field.
Everybody calls it the Sears Tower too.
Heck yeah, I can take this one on. Mother Lion was in attendance for this game. Down in Tampa Bay, in attendance. Part of the season ticket club holder in their department. So good on them. Saw a great game. Mike Evans showed out. And Ben, you had it right. Bucks probably just saved their season with this win.
That was my hope going into this, folks who watched this on or listened to us on or watched to us on Wednesday. I said Bucks would save their season here. And they needed it. They needed this win badly. They're 4-5. They've got to keep pace in that ugly, ugly NFC South.
Yeah, Will Levis having a real steep come down to earth.
Ooh, yeah, real quick. I think his girlfriend that broke up with him and then tried to get back with him has now broken up again with him after the last couple games. He had the one game.
She rescinded her offer to get back together.
Yeah,
brutal.
Yeah, she's got her own following.
The report from the stadium at this game was that it was very hot. I forgot that was the report.
Moist. Some would say moist.
Very hot.
85 degrees and humid down there in Tampa Bay. Falcons at the Cardinals. Kyler Murray is back, and he gets them a dub here against the Falcons. Matt Smith, a.k.a. Arthur Smith. The mustache shaving did not work. The Falcons fall to 4-6. Just talking about NFC South teams here. The Falcons are now behind the Buccaneers. And the Cardinals, I don't know. The Cardinals are 2-8. They have Kyler Murray back. Certainly not going to make a run this season with 8 losses already, but good for Kyler. I'll say that. Good for Kyler, especially with the new Call of Duty just coming out.
I think this officially puts Arthur Smith on a very warm cushion. Not necessarily hot seat, because he can just fall back and say, I don't have a quarterback. If I just had I'm a quarterback away. He's definitely on a warm cushion now. The Falcons are a better team, and they should be better than 4-6.
100%.
I don't know if you guys saw the end of this game. They had the camera right on Kyler Murray, and the defense held up, got the stop, got the W, and he took the biggest sigh of relief before he got up off him one day, and then was very happy. So, I mean, that seems like a lot of pressure off his shoulders. I wouldn't be surprised if he went off on a tear here to end the season, just because now it's like, hey, no pressure. Got my first win back. Team's going to start believing in me. We can make a run.
Kyler Murray back at the helm for Arizona. We'll see what transpires from that. Ugly one here. Next up, Cowboys nearly a 50 burger here against the Giants. The Giants get to 17 points, but it was not that close. They had a lot of those points in garbage time. The Cowboys are now 6-3, 4-0 at home, have not lost at home, and I believe this is 12 in a row at home, extending back to last season. Not much more to make about this game other than the Cowboys solid team, Giants bad.
Yeah,
Giants bad.
Giants bad. Cowboys are a good team.
And that one was going on during the Lions game, so did not see much of that, but didn't need to. Commanders at the Seahawks. This one also going on simultaneous with the Lions. This one, your last matchup of the day here for Week 10, and as it stands right now with Sunday Night Football in action currently. The Commanders nearly pull off a win here in Seattle against that 12th man. Did not see this game being close. Did not see this happening. The Seahawks eke out a win with a last-second field goal to improve to 6-3, keep pace in that NFC, one game behind the Lions.
I have a stat. I'm gonna give Andrew a shout out here, and I guess Adam Schefter because I have to. Arizona, Cleveland, Detroit, Houston, and Seattle all with a game-winning field goal. The most winning scores with no time remaining in regulation in a single week in NFL history.
Whoa. Jake Marsh is going to be insufferable.
What a treat for the
tomorrow.
viewers.
What'd you say, Andrew? Sorry. Cut you off.
What a treat for the viewers.
Oh, well, we're past Halloween. It's no longer a trick or treat. It's a Halloween feast or a Thanksgiving feast. Whoa, I need to stop. I need to stop before somebody take me away. Cowboys take me away. Yeah, so that's your game. On Wednesday, we'll start talking. It's as we go into week 11, we're going to start talking about playoff picture and where people are standing. And officially this week, the ESPN playoff machine is back in effect. So folks that like to do simulations, this is right up your alley. The ESPN playoff machine is super cool. The New York Times has one as well, but the ESPN one's a little bit more dynamic and graphic. So it's awesome. 'Tis the season for that. And we're going to be talking about the down the stretch here as week 11 is right on our doorstep.
Boys, I know I shouldn't do this, but I keep looking at the Lions schedule and getting really excited.
It's hard not to. It's hard not to, right? I mean, like I said, got to stay grounded with the guys. We're going to just chillax and let the chips fall where they may, but strength of schedule, not strong down the stretch. We'll say that. So that's week 10 in the NFL.
Ben, if I can...
Whoa.
Ben, if I can ease your mind, if I can ease your mind at all a little bit, we talked about the Vikings at the end of the season, twice in the last 3 weeks. Let us not forget, this defense will not lose to Dobbs twice. Just will not happen. I mean, you can lose one time, sure. I refuse to let it be known that they can lose twice.
All right, put it in stone. I want to ride with you, buddy. I really do. All right, so that's NFL Week 10. Let's go to college football. We've got our college football expert back yet again. By popular demand. I see he's on mute, so if you want to unmute Drew and say that you're here.
I'm here. Let's roll.
All right.
Go Lions, baby.
That's right. We've got a new Lions fan as well. Drew, famously mostly a college football
Hey, there's
fan.
room on the bandwagon,
Yes, there is. There's plenty of Kool-Aid to go around. Just stick with us during the bad times too, okay?
I can try that.
How's the new stardom, the new fandom felt? Have you had people come up to you in the street telling you they heard you on the podcast yet?
A couple times I've had to kind of be a little more hidden, making reservations, trying to stay a little more in home. Too many photos being taken right now, I'm just not comfortable with it at this moment.
Yeah,
it's something to get used to, so we'll see how it goes.
We all go through it as well. If you need some tips, just hit us up during the week. We're there for you. And Mitch is jumping off, so you're jumping in. He's got some stuff to do. So thank you, Mitch. We will see you on Wednesday. All right. Andrew is here, but his webcam's frozen. I don't know if it's frozen for you, so just don't be alarmed by that. Let's talk about Michigan Penn State. What did you take away from that game as far as a Michigan fan in that one?
I'm just happy with the W going into that, obviously with the circus of a week, with Harbaugh not being there. I loved it though. I got to see the classic James Franklin coaching malpractice. Michigan basically ran one play, and that was run through a motherfucker's face in the second half, and with 30 runs in a row. So, it was a great game. You just got to go into Happy Valley anytime you're playing there. Just try to come out with the W.
Yeah, were you a little bit concerned when you saw, obviously that crowd is always strong, but it felt like they were elevated on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody in the country or anyone tuning into that game was rooting against Michigan, other than Michigan fans. So, they kind of had their backs against the wall, and they did what they needed to do.
Drew, what'd you take of the post game press conference with James Franklin and that announce
Oh, that was tension was high in Happy Valley. They're in a very weird predicament with their coaching staff right now. As I don't know if you guys saw, but they already fired their offensive coordinator.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's tough. You're a Penn State fan. You have a coach who, I can't remember how many different seasons he's won 10 games. He's won a lot of New Year's Six bowls. But when it comes down to winning the games against the Big Two, I think he's beat Ohio State once and Michigan twice. So it's really, if you're a Penn State fan, it's what do you want? Do you want to win some games or do you want to win it all? And if you want to win it all, you're going to have to make a coaching change.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because I could very well be wrong, but has James Franklin won meaningful games without Saquon Barkley in the backfield?
You say he won meaningful games?
Yeah, has he won, like his best years were when Saquon was there? Am I wrong?
I think you're correct. Was when he had his best teams. But really, like I said, he hasn't really won meaningful games his whole coaching career. I mean, even when he was back at Vanderbilt, they never really won those big games. He's a great car salesman. He can recruit his ass off. That's why he can get good recruits to Penn State. And that's why they win most of their games. But when they go up against a team who has the same talent or better talent, they're not going to come out on top.
Yeah, it's astonishing to see recruits choose Penn State over Ohio State or Michigan. It's incredible.
Well, on this day, though, when it's with NLI, when a coach is recruiting a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid, I mean, that's a big decision for anyone to make. Yeah. So it's easy for them to be tricked by coaches.
Their impression.
But yeah, I was really happy with the game.
This is like for Lions fans, the Jim Caldwell dilemma, right? They start winning games finally, but can't get in the playoffs, and when you do, can't win a playoff game. Who is the replacement for Franklin? If they do decide to move on for him, is there somebody out there?
Jimbo?
That's the problem with all coaching hires this offseason right now. There really isn't a home run hire for anyone to go after. There's one person, I guess you could say, which is Urban Meyer, but based on everything that we're hearing, he doesn't want to really get back into coaching. I've heard the number $13 million being thrown at him from Michigan State, and I guess he did show some interest at one time. But now you have Texas A&M, and they can go bag for bag against anyone in the country. So whether he wants to get back into coaching, that's to be determined. But then if you look around the country, there's really not too many splash hires. I mean, you got Duke's coach, Florida State's coach, who could be potentially poached from someone. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of big-time hires out there.
Deion Sanders,
yeah, that one is still wait and see. I mean, right. I knew after 2 games, 3 games. I mean, if you just watched Colorado play, even when they played TCU, you knew TCU wasn't the TCU that played last year. You could tell they were frauds after that first game. So Deion's still wait and see.
Yeah, he's totally stole my bullet point too. Had Jimbo Fisher in here as well, and Urban Meyer right next to it, potentially going to College Station. Yep. Another name that's been flirted out there, and this one's a long shot Lions fan, so don't worry. But Dan Campbell, ex alumni of Texas A&M, correct me. So people have floated out the name of Dan Campbell going to Texas A&M. That would be crazy.
I saw that on the list today, and I was going to bring it up to you guys. Very, very funny. There's 0% chance that would happen. I mean, you guys know more than probably anyone, but I do not see Dan Campbell leaving or ever going back to college. I mean, really, if you're a successful NFL coach, besides there's only a couple exceptions, Harbaugh being one of them, no one wants to go back to college ball. There's so much extra work you have to do when it comes to recruiting, boosters, especially now in the day of NLI. So, yes, some schools can pay you same or close to the NFL, but why would you ever do that to yourself?
Exactly. I don't see it happening, but it is something to think about.
Yeah.
Oh, here's something. Let's go back to the last time you were on here. You were telling us that regardless of what happened, Jim Harbaugh was going to be on the sidelines because they could do the injunction thing, the restraining order or whatever.
Yep.
I'm obviously not calling you wrong for that, but where does it stand now?
Yeah.
Like, do you think he's back against Maryland?
No, so yeah, when I was last on the pod, I mean, I was probably 99% sure he was going to be coaching, and so was every other person who was aware of the situation. And actually, just recently, earlier tonight, I found out that the reason the TRO, so temporary restraining order, did not go through was because the Big Ten actually hired a lawyer at the Michigan level who filed an objection. And since they waited it to file their suspension on Friday, which was a veterans holiday, the court had to do basically a hearing. So they couldn't even sign the temporary restraining order. So now it gets pushed another week. So now they'll have a hearing this upcoming Friday, and it'll come down to how that goes.
Okay, so he could be back in Maryland.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So like I said, everyone was very confident, even leading up to, I think it was about 11:15 this previous Saturday, that he was going to be coaching. I mean, they had a police escort waiting for him at the hotel, which would have been actually pretty epic if that would have went through.
Yeah.
But the Big Ten was, they were playing chess too, you know. They were very smart and strategic about when they filed that suspension, and they were prepared to block the restraining order from Michigan.
That's what's just so messed up about it.
Oh, yeah. No, the relationship between Michigan and the Big Ten is, some people are saying, unrepairable. So it's going to be an interesting couple months and years to see how this drags out.
Yeah, that's kind of the big question, right? And I think Ben was going to lead up to it, but we'll ask you right now. What are the thoughts, when it comes to it? Will the Michigan break from the Big Ten? People are saying that. Is there a possibility they can snag a couple other big teams like USC, maybe in Oregon because they're fringe guys?
Yeah.
Maybe a couple other big squads and say screw the NCAA while they're at it. All it takes that the Live Tour showed us is one big contract, right?
Yep. Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, I think right now everyone's obviously very emotional. Michigan is very put off that the way the Big Ten went about it, especially with not letting the investigation play out. I mean, the NCAA hasn't done anything to Michigan yet, so they're kind of like, why is the Big Ten doing that? Whether they leave the Big Ten, we'll wait and see. I mean, that's a lot of money. Michigan's one of those schools that could get away with it. They could go to independent if they wanted to. I believe their contract is through 2030. But I was reading some things saying that Michigan could technically get out of it potentially. I've heard that there's been some people speaking with some ADs in the SEC and ACC. Personally, I would obviously go into the SEC, great football, but probably a better move to probably go independent if I was Michigan, and then kind of wait and see how these conferences shake out. But It's wait and see right now. Let's wait till the investigation's over. We'll go from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you say the
emotions are high. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you say the NCAA is playing, or the Big Ten is playing chess as well. Do you think they overlooked it? Now I hear people throwing it out. It's a sideline suspension, right? Did they overlook it a little too much? Can he coach from the booth?
Oh, can he coach from the booth? Nope, he can't be anywhere in the stadium. That's why there was jokes of him being on the bus outside the stadium. I also saw some funny posts saying, well, can he coach from a helicopter above the stadium and all this different things. Also saw the meme of him using like the iPad on the sidelines, but no, based on what I see, he can't be in the stadium whatsoever. So it'll be interesting. I mean, we'll see how this hearing goes this Friday to see if their injunction does go through. I mean, I know people on Michigan's side are still hopeful, but they were hopeful that they'd get their TRO. So we'll see how it goes through.
Yeah. And
sounds like another staffer's got to get the hot air balloon community organized and get Harbaugh in the air, get him some binoculars, and
get him on what was the old blimp that used to go?
The Goodyear blimp.
The stadium. Yeah, get him on the Goodyear blimp with some binoculars. Him and Stallions up there.
Yeah, right. It's too bad that more stadiums don't have like apartments or hotels nearby that overlook the stadium. You can just hang out there.
Like if it was like Iowa, you could be up
Yeah.
there in the hospital, Children's Hospital, coach from.
I didn't want to say it because it's a children's hospital, but
I know it was only the quickest one I could think of, but which it's a great stadium there in Iowa City.
It is. Andrew, you want to hit your wild card question here?
We already did. We covered that.
Nope. The injury one.
Oh yeah. So I saw this on the Exosphere. Kind of dumb, but maybe you can shed some more light on it, right? So Petiti said that in his announcement that stealing signs heightens the risk of injury. You've heard MSU make that same complaint as well. But he also said that, if other programs are doing it at this point, it doesn't matter to him. Like, it's just the main focus that they did it with devices. Now, can players with injuries now sue if loss of compensation leading to the NFL comes into play?
I actually saw someone tweet that. I don't even know who it was. Just probably some random person, and it actually brought up a funny. It actually brought up a funny debate because last year, one of the schools that did have Michigan signals, which it'll probably come out in the next couple of weeks, was Illinois as well. And Michigan fans are aware that that's also the game that Blake Corum tore his meniscus, got injured, Heisman basically campaign ruined. So that's kind of coming back to that. So if anyone ever goes down that road, it actually turns around once that information starts coming out that, well, if you can sue somebody, Blake Corum would have also a good case. But I don't think that would ever go through or hold up because sign stealing is legal. So the only reason Michigan's getting in trouble is because they supposedly used advanced scouting, allegedly, and that's why they're getting in trouble, not the fact that they stole signs. So the whole debate that it increases the risk of injury is really not a debate at all because if it was, they wouldn't allow you to steal signals.
Right.
And every college quarterback would have a device in their helmet.
Yeah, and an Apple Watch, yeah.
Exactly. Like an NFL game.
Right.
And that's the funny thing. I don't know if you guys saw coming out as well that they're going to do a trial run for bowl games this year. Besides the college football playoff, they're going to start testing the microphones in the QB's helmets.
Well, it's got to be coming.
So it's funny how things change.
It's and how fast they can change too. Right alongside.
What do you mean testing?
So,
the NFL's already done it for them. They don't need to test it. It works.
No, exactly. That's how stupid it is. But they're going to let all the bowl games use the mics, so your quarterback will have a mic. Besides the college football playoff games.
Right, because they don't want to change anything there yet.
No,
they want to use the other ones as guinea pigs.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of Blake Corum, homeboy was tore up after the game. What happened there, man?
So he's been kind of dealing with that cut all year. I've kind of seen it throughout the season. Kind of just looks like the bridge of his nose, probably from the front of his helmet. Cole would know. He's a football player. When that gets pulled down, it can kind of split you open right there. I actually saw a picture of him though after the Penn State game. It looks like he's got some stitches now. So we'll see if that keeps kind of being reopened on him. But that did make one heck of a picture though.
Sure did. All right. Last thing before we let you go. Michigan taking on Maryland next week. What are your feelings towards that game?
As anyone would think, it's a trap game. But I really don't think it is at the same time. Michigan's kind of been locked in on all their games this year, which, knock on wood, they've been dealing with distractions every single game. The first three, they didn't have Coach Harbaugh. Then they weren't winning by enough points, and now same kind of thing going on. So, yes, trap game theoretically, but I'm not too concerned.
And what else we got? We got next week. Any good games? I'm looking at the schedule right now, so making this on the fly. But
off the top of my head, I think Ohio State's at Minnesota, so that's nothing. I'm trying to think who Florida State could be playing. I can't think of
take over the college
Florida State. Florida State. You want to hear here's the kicker. Here's who's Florida State's playing. North Alabama.
Exactly. So people can scream schedule all you want at Michigan, but
Oh my God.
they're not playing North Alabama on week 11.
Yeah, right. And
Didn't we have the lowest under in college football history hit as well?
With the Iowa Rutgers game,
Yeah.
more than likely, I think it was 20. Was it 22-0?
I think
So
so.
22 over, yeah, it was 22-0, but I think like the over under was like 28, something like that.
Well,
I think
yeah,
they said
so-
it was like the lowest over under.
Iowa had set the lowest over under. I believe it's the last 3 weeks in a row, with each week it getting lower. So I mean, for them to be 8-2, I mean, hats off to that defense.
Biggest matchup probably next week. Washington, number 5, taking on Oregon, number 12.
Wait,
Yeah.
how is that possible? They've already played.
No, what do you mean they've already played? What do you mean?
Do you mean Oregon State?
Is that what I said? Did I say something else?
You said Washington, Oregon.
Oh, I may have missed the state, but yeah, Oregon State in
Okay,
Oregon
unless it cut out, but yeah,
at home too. Oregon State's at home.
Oregon State. I mean, in the Pac-12, especially Pac-12 after dark, anything can happen. I mean, but I feel like it's going to be hard for Oregon State to outscore Washington. 'Cause, I mean, each team's going to give up points, but are you going to outscore Michael Penix? That's going to be the task at hand.
Speaking of Michael Penix, last thing and before we let you go, any thoughts on the Heisman?
I mean, J.J. McCarthy's hopes, those are basically dead. Unless he was to have some crazy, Ohio State game, but he was always not there stat-wise, and he kind of need to have a big game against Penn State and Ohio State to probably push him into that picture. Marvin Harrison Jr., he is sitting in a prime position, especially if they were to beat Michigan, and he ends up with, 100 yards receiving and a touchdown, then the Heisman's his. Michael Penix, same thing, if they win the Pac-12 and Michigan beats Ohio State, Michael Penix will win your Heisman. So those are probably, coming down to it right now, Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Penix, Bo Nix could sneak his way in there if they beat Washington in the Pac-12 game. Am I missing anyone else?
I've heard the name of the LSU quarterback floated around. I can't think of his name.
Oh, yes. Yep. He's got probably the best stats in the country, but there would have to be a lot of weird things happen for a two-loss player or a two-loss team,
Right.
their best player, to win the Heisman.
Right.
I mean, the Heisman's kind of turned into the MVP of the best team kind of thing now, so he might be the best player in the country, but LSU can't do it with 2 losses.
Really, it really is. LSU, don't they have more than 2 losses? Am I wrong there?
Actually, yeah, they might have 3 now. I kind of stopped paying attention, even though, I love seeing Brian Kelly lose games, so.
Yeah, sign you up, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think they have 3. But
I think you're correct.
Regardless.
I'm pretty sure they have 3 losses.
Regardless, either way, point proven. All right, Drew, thanks for being here. And Mitch says he gives his thanks as well for joining the boardroom of the Lion Share.
Alrighty, thanks for having me. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much again.
No, all good in the hood, brother. We will.
Awesome.
We
All
will
right, you
catch
guys
up.
have a good night.
Thank you, sir. You as well.
Thank you. Thanks for taking it a little more seriously, pal.
All right, Andrew. Let's land this plane. Let's get the hell out of here. We're talking about a Lions victory Monday tomorrow, folks. We've all earned it after the roller coaster of emotions that we felt today watching this game. So we'll see you all on Wednesday. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your support. As always, shareholders, we love you. Let's go Lions. 7-2 going into the next week against the Chicago Bears. Let's go Lions.
This is your Monday to show off the water cooler, shareholders. Let's go Lions.